What is a home? Is it four walls and a roof over our head? Is it the furniture and the photographs, the other things that we fill that space with? Is it the friendships, the family, the people that inhabit that space? I believe that a home is a convergence of all three of these spaces. It's the physical, it's the symbolic, it's the social. But for me, what I've realized over the years is what's less important in the idea of a home is how we construct the idea of home for ourselves. Now, as I was growing up, I thought of home as a very simple thing. I thought of it as those four walls and a roof. I was fortunate to spend the majority of my years growing up in one home. And so for me, whenever I thought of a home, I thought first and foremost of that physical structure. I thought of home from the outside in. I thought of home, and I immediately brought to mind the idea of the old Victorian on Tejon Street where I grew up. And then, as I dug in a little bit deeper, I started to think what lied inside that home. I started to think about all the things that filled that space, from the rug in the entryway to the couch in the living room, the dirty socks that perpetually stacked up in the corner of my room, to the love notes and birthday cards that I kept tucked away in the top drawer of my dresser. And those love notes and birthday cards are the perfect inflection point to think about the next way that I thought about home, as a social space. It was about the relationships, the people that filled that home, that filled that space. But over time, after I graduated from high school and I went to college, I began to travel a lot. The first move wasn't so big. It was about an hour and a half up the road to college. But I lived for the first time in a place that wasn't home as I had understood it to be all those years growing up. Home, as I went through college and continued to travel, became a much more fluid idea. Over the years, I moved to Argentina and studied there for 6 months. After college, I moved to Spain and lived there for a year. And one thing led to another, and I've ended up here in India, where I've been for about a year and a half. And after all these years of traveling, in the beginning just an hour and a half up the road to college, and further on traveling throughout the world, the idea of home became very fluid to me. It was no longer this immediately sense of a physical structure and the things that were inside of it and the people there, because home began to constantly change as I traveled and I met new people and I inhabited new places and I filled all those spaces with the little things, the trinkets, the things that meant a lot to me as I moved along the way. And so over time, I began to have to search for home in new ways. I began to have to try and understand home through a new lens. And for me, part of the search, as I tried to understand home in a new way, I began to search through songs and through poetry. And through songs and poetry, trying to understand my sense of home, I began to invert my sense of things and think about home from the inside out. And so I want to play a song that was a part of my search for reacquainting myself with the notion of home. A long time across dividing lines and close these overburdened eyes. Take a moment, a silent moment, let it settle and let us hold it and breathe together. Be together. Yes, I said breathe together. Yes, I said breathe together. And just be. Find a sign and claim it as our own. Symbolic space and a sense of home. A beam of light across a vast expanse, and in its glow we'll revel and we'll dance and dream together. be together. Yes, I said dream together. Yes, I said breathe together and just be. Just be. Just be. After all these years of searching for a new idea of what home was, I realized that I had it with me the whole time. It's this idea of just being. Being. Being is a home. And what I mean by being is in every moment finding a way to be present, to be fully immersed in each moment, opening up all your senses and being fully aware and immersed in the circumstances that are around you. And if you allow yourself to be, you've got a home wherever you set your feet, because your home starts right here from within. And what I found is if you can exist in this state of being, this state of complete immersion in the present, you began to resonate and build a connection. You start building the foundation of a home wherever you set your feet, because you begin to resonate, to connect with the world around you wherever you set your feet. It might be something as simple as a smile to a stranger as you walk down the street, or it might be opening your eyes to a new building or a new quality of the street that you walk down every single day. But what happens is if you're totally immersed, if you find your home in the present tense, you begin to resonate with people, with the places around you, with the circumstances of every moment. And what I realized over time, if you can practice this sense of being, practice this idea of building your home in each moment, and with each step you take, this resonance escalates. And eventually it becomes a vibration. And vibration, to an extent that some ways it becomes almost physically tangible. And so by starting from within and starting with your being and being fully present in each moment, beginning to find resonance and connection with each person you pass on the street and each step that you take, you began to create a vibration. You began to create a physical home wherever you move. And it's right here from within. And so as I continued to explore and move about the world, I realized that if I carried my home with me and I found this resonance and I extended that out into a big vibration, then in fact I had a home with me wherever I went. And that home ultimately existed amongst the waves, amongst those vibrations. And so I want to finish by concluding with a song for me that brought it all back home. It helped me understand how home is right here, and home exists in the vibrations and the waves that resonate outward from our own sense of being. My home is now fluid, its cadence, the tide, a rhythm, an echo of where I reside. The space that I inhabit, I'm simply floating through, measuring the angles that lie between me and you, me and you. Connections unbounded by revolutions round the sun, infinite angles divided by one, by one, by one, by one, by one, by one. stillness and a silence settle in my soul as essences and energies unite to form a whole. Though subtle shifts may change our course, gravity will bring us round. The truth is the lie you said, and the feeling is this sound, is this sound. Harmonies compounded by mantras softly sung, interwoven oscillations resonate as one, as one, as one, as one, as one, as one. And just as there is light emanating from the sun, there's love in every vibration of the sound that we've become. Yes, we become nothing more than sound and rhythm and rhythm and rhythm and rhythm. A beating heart, a quiet mind, a silent soul. And as I flow amongst these waves, I am silence, I am stillness, I am home. Thank you.